Oh my gosh, just freaking look at this. There's trash everywhere all over the ground. I'm looking at buying this property. I'm not gonna lie, the front of the building looks really good, but there's plastic on the ground, there's garbage bags, sacks, tarps. And here's the question for today's video. Does pollution or the condition of a property that has been littered on affect its actual value?
One shot, now the future is yours. Go! I'm turning dreams into reality. Yeah, it's one shot, now the future is yours. Go!
All right, check it out. So today we are going to be talking about real estate values and how they are affected by pollution. We'll talk specifically about beachfront property, Airbnb, but frankly, all property in general. I got to tell you, in doing the research for making this video, I was blown away at how much a value's property can actually go down in people's perception just because of the state or the condition that it's in or how much litter there is. And today's video is brought to you by Team C's. In fact, I've teamed up with Mr. Beast and Mark Rober, and we've got a goal. We want to raise $30 million that we can use to eliminate 30 million pounds of trash that are out there in our oceans everywhere, killing our planet, killing the wildlife, and hurting our real estate. So let's just start with this. What is a property actually worth? Is it really just its value divided by its square footage? And no matter what, in all property conditions, it's $100 a foot or $200 a foot, wherever it is in the area that you live in? The reality is, if you were to take a beautiful property and let the yard grow out of control and let weeds take over, that all of a sudden people would be willing to pay a lot less for that property, even if the home is in really great condition. Turns out perception is really important. You know, when I got in the game of real estate, I was looking for problem properties. Properties that had perception problems, like it had broken windows. Guess what? Turns out that a young family looking there for their first starter home that is willing to even pay top dollar for the right home in the right condition has zero interest at looking at a property that has broken windows or where the yard is overgrown. And you know what? Pollution has the exact same impact. All of a sudden, turns out that if you leave a lot of litter on that property, people are just less interested in it.
Am I interested? I'm not really interested. Should I play like I'm interested, but I'm not that interested, but I think she might be interested, but do I want to be interested? But now she's not interested. So now all of a sudden I'm starting to get interested.
One of my favorite types of properties to visit in the world, beach houses. You know why? I'm always looking for like the perfect temperature of water for the time of year. I'm looking for the perfect sand that's really soft, and I'm looking for a beautiful house right on the beach. And then finally, I'm looking for some privacy. I'm looking for exclusivity. I'm looking for something that has all of those characteristics. And as I've traveled around the world, I've seen some really beautiful houses, but maybe it was more shelly and rocky than sandy, and I didn't like that very much. Recently, I came from Cancun, and they had a problem with all of the seaweed that had been migrating in and this weird algae, and it made the water really unattractive to go in. And it got me wondering, is the property value of your beachfront property affected by the condition of the water? Well, since today I am featuring Team C's as our official sponsor, I have to tell you, I found some surprising research that shows that pollution in the water actually, in fact, does lower the value. Question is, by how much? First, check this out. There are numerous reasons why you might be thinking about purchasing a property on the coast. I mean, think about it. It could be Airbnb. It could be, that would be a really hot rental. There could be some great cash flow, and maybe off season I'll go and fly in and use it myself. Listen, if you've ever entertained the game of real estate, I know that you've thought of owning a really sexy piece of property that when not rented is something you could use. However, owning a home beside the sea isn't without its issues. Have you considered how the environment and surrounding landscape could adversely affect your investment? Well, if you haven't, you better start thinking about it, starting with this. Well, as much as I like comparing different beaches and how soft and nice they are, turns out that there is one quality that is even more important with beachfront property, and it is the quality of the water. Water quality has an important influence on property prices since it impacts a water body's appearance, capacity to support wildlife, and recreational potential. As water quality is altered by human use and activity, understanding the impact of changing quality on property prices and the associated property tax basis is paramount. As in, how would you like to buy a property, make a big investment, and all of a sudden find out that, there's a huge problem, and that's affecting my rental rates, my income, and even the value of the property itself? Wait. So how does the water quality really affect the price on real estate? I mean, Kris, are we just talking about floating plastic in the water? Actually, we're talking about something so much worse. Check it out. It's called PCB pollution. What is PCB pollution and why is it so important? PCBs, or polychlorinated biphenyls, are industrial products or chemicals. Studies of PCBs in humans have found increased rates of melanomas, liver cancer, gallbladder cancer, gastrointestinal tract cancer, brain cancer, basically all the different cancers. Apparently, this whole thing about industries like having byproducts that include chemicals and other wastes that get into the water end up affecting us in a really bad way. And look at how it starts, right? I mean, it's just the way that we live and build, industrialize, and eventually that gets absorbed into the water. The plankton consume them, bigger fish consume them, bigger fish consume them, and then we eat the fish, and all of a sudden, guess what? Cancer. This is actually a real problem.
Houston, we have a problem.
I mean, come on, who's gonna know? Who's gonna know? Who's gonna know if that water quality is really gonna lead to like a depreciation of the value of your asset? Check out this crazy study that I found from NDPI. Studies found that the negative effect on PCB pollution on property prices didn't emerge until a large proportion of residents became aware of the problem. Properties subject to PCB contamination sold for $71,000 less than non-contaminated properties. Researchers estimated that the total lost value on all single-family properties within the study zone was almost $40 million. Now I want you to think about that for a second. Have you ever thought, wow, I'm going to own this property, it's by the water, it's by a river, it's by a stream, it's by a lake, and is there a chance that if people find out, or if I find out that there's this PCB problem in the water, that all of a sudden my property is going to go down in value? Turns out there's another thing on the list you need to check off when buying property. You know, a few years back, I'd paid a couple $100,000 to hang out at Tony Robbins' beachfront property in Florida. And I remember looking at the beach early in the morning, and it looked like it had been combed by some type of large tractor machine. And it got me kind of curious, and I asked him later in the day, I was like, what's happening on that beachfront property? You might have noticed it, by the way, if you've ever seen like the beach like combed out, and you know what they said? There's this really weird red algae and kelp that just goes up on the shore. It's really unattractive. So much to the tune that someone's paying some HOA fee to somebody to clean it up. It turns out that pollution in the water, pollution on the beach absolutely affect the perceived value of the property as well. So let's talk about plastic. This comes from Deloitte. Plastic that washes up on beaches makes regions unattractive for tourists and property buyers, resulting in direct financial impact for tourism and the real estate sector respectively. Marine pollution results in loss of aesthetic value of the environment, which has an economic cost in the form of decreased real estate value of waterfront housing. Dude, and this might even seem a little bit unrelated, but a couple years ago I went to Belize. And I have to tell you that when you start seeing some plastic washing up around there, it makes you wonder, like, am I in a third world country? Are people just lazy here? Are people not really environmentally with it? Not only that, but in the water, they have these little like water ticks. And I go in the water and they start biting me. Dude, I'll tell you what, I would never buy that property, period, that has water like that. If there's PCB, if there's like garbage floating around, who would want to own something like that? So here's my question. What should you do about this knowledge that I've shared with you today? Well, there's a couple of things. I believe it's a privilege to be able to own real estate. It's something that you get to call yours. It's a stewardship. It's something that you take care of. And if you do a good job managing it, guess what it does? It builds wealth for you and it gives back to you. But you see, this planet has also been given to us. And being raised in Seattle, I remember my parents being super conscious about not littering, cleaning up the environment. We'd sometimes literally spend Saturdays walking around, just cleaning up roads. My mom, every time she did my laundry, literally would have to check my pockets because I would fill them with litter because I felt so bad seeing that garbage on the ground. I'm inviting you and I to be better stewards of this planet, whether you own a piece of it or not. If you're a subscriber on my channel, you want to own real estate. But in the meantime, there's something we can also do to help clean up this planet. And that's why I've teamed up with Team Seas. There's a link below in this video, and I want to invite you to make a small donation, a donation that feels right, that will help us clean up 30 million pounds of sludge, garbage, waste, and the PCB that is in the water. Because you know what? We are the stewards of this planet. And even though you may never personally feel the impact of visiting that place in the world where that cleanup happened, I mean, think about that. $1 literally cleans up a pound of trash out of the garbage of the sea. That's absolutely amazing. But I think the real impact is how we feel inside. At the end of the day, I'm not just here to make a bunch of money. I'm here to leave an impact. I'm here to erase my carbon footprint, which means the impact that I've had on the environment supporting me to get where I am today. I promise you, Mother Earth, I promise you that this planet has supported you, and it's time for us to make a give back. So join me with Team C's. Click the link below and make a donation, something that feels right for you, so that you can know today that you did something to clean this place up. At the end of the day, I teach people how to make a grundle of money in real estate. How much is a grundle? Well, it's enough to cover all your bills and have plenty left over so that you can have freedom and flexibility to live the life that you're meant to. By the way, if you haven't woken up to the possibility of how real estate can help you become financially free in 5 years or less, like it has for me, number one, subscribe. But number two, watch this video and let me show you how you start your real estate journey right now.